What we just saw, the histograms, the trend charts, the average graphs, we actually saw them in the final shape. But in order to actually get to them, we need to do some processing with the scalar and vector data that we get. In this module, we are going to cover the simulation analysis, which is going to lead us to such beautiful looking graphs. We will see what are analysis files, the way to create these analysis files, and finally the analysis editor, which is given as a support tool in the Eclipse IDE. What is simulation analysis? Simulation analysis as such is the extraction and representation of meaningful data from the scalar and vector files. It is indeed quite cumbersome because there is a large data which gets available towards the end of the simulation, and there are so many entries in these data files. The user has to apply some kind of statistical method which is the most suited to that kind of data to draw useful conclusions. There is a provision in Omnet++ through the Eclipse IDE that it gives us an analysis file. What is the analysis file? It is actually a way to automate the processing in sequential steps. This file helps us to load the results file both from the scalar and vector data, to filter them according to what we want to see, transform the data into the most meaningful representation, and finally extract and output the charts. To create the analysis file, there is a built-in support. You go to File, New, the analysis file, which is .anf, or you can go to the particular project and then you can click on the particular Omnet++ file which you want to create the analysis file for, which would be the project. And when you click on it, automatically the most appropriate output files names shall be defined as scalar and vector output files, which are given in the output folder. And the analysis file shall be given a name correspondingly. If we continue, we are going to make use of the analysis editor, which is the built-in feature. The analysis editor gives us a way to manipulate the input files, modify and use the dataset, and finally output the data in the most appropriate chart type. We are going to look at each of these in a sequential manner. First, the input files. When we identify the files which we are going to use, the scalar and vector files, we can actually browse them inside and see that these scalar and vector files are available through the analysis file that we have created. Then we can define interesting Boolean kind of atomic patterns to filter the most relevant and useful data. The notation is the field name and the pattern that we want to choose. The field name can be the module, the file, the parameter name, and if we want to append it, like SQL query, with another kind of module or file or variable. As an example, if we look at a way to extract all the queuing and transmission times from a certain module called sync, we would be running this kind of script, that is module *.sync. It actually means wherever the particular sync file is placed, from there extract the queuing time and the transmission time. So whatever parameters would have these names would be extracted out of these. After we have selected the file and applied the filters, now we are in a position to use these files and the filtered data according to our own needs. This is where the editing of the dataset comes in. Here on the menu, you see that the dataset and charts comes as a single user interface based support. On the right hand side is the legend, which shows to you all the nodes. Here, these are known as nodes. All these nodes are available, which allow you to manipulate the data that you want. Here you can see the most relevant ones are apply, if you want to apply some kind of statistical or mathematical expression onto the data. Group, if you want to group the variables or the parameters under a single group, you can do that by picking them up and using them together, and so forth. So, if we were to say, how are we going to make use of data sets? We will see that data sets comprise a tree-like structure which involves processing and chart extraction. Here, as I said earlier, the nodes are used for adding and discarding data, applying processing, statistical processing to vectors and scalars, and selecting the most appropriate operands to perform a certain kind of operation. And then finally, the representation in the form of charts.